Hi guys, we got a new spread, and we're gonna look into Henry VIII. I got my follow thing here, not like I did with the Jim Morrison. I completely lost myself. So anyway, I thought right we can do because there's like conspiracies about his personality changing after the accidents. Now some say he did, some say he was always like it, or some say it was worse than it was. So I was kind of like, as a child growing up, when we done history and stuff, I always had a fascination with Henry VIII and his wives. Didn't store all the information because dyslexic, it doesn't sink in completely. But I always had this fascination. So I thought I'm going to try a new spread and try and see what we can get from the tarot. I don't know how it's going to go, like I said before. I'm like, just see what it is. So we're going to look at his childhood, his teenage years, and then kind of go into his adulthood, of his personality. Mainly is about his personality. I might go off on a tangent, so be prepared. I don't know how it's going to situate. I got a few other extra cards on the sidelines just in case. So if I'm not looking directly into the camera, I do apologise. I'm still trying to get adjusted to this. But anyway, let's just get on with the reading, shall we? And see what where Henry VIII was he a mass murderer? I mean, for the amount of people that he killed as well. Here we go. I told you I'd go on a tangent. It's estimated that during his 36 years of rule over England, he executed up to 57. I think that's 57. It's not people. 57 thousands of people. I mean, I mean, serial killers can't compete with that, can they? Really? So, and he did execute a few people in his younger years. So, was it is it power and control, or was there like something more going on there? Um, anyway, I'll stop talking now and we'll get on with the reading, shall we? So I thought we'll do the Rider Waite tarot. So let's look into his childhood, energy. So Henry VIII, can we, like absorb Henry VIII? I might do my dowsing crystal as well. So Henry VIII, as a child, his personality. Can you give us insight on that? I always forget to shuffle on the. Here we go. Henry VIII, his personality as a child. Too many. Too many. As a child. Oh, two. We got two. Two of cups. Three of pentacles. Right, okay, we go. So, as a child, I would say Henry was a bit problematic. So there was always some like so it there was always some slight behavior issues going on there. Okay, um, I think he had a number of people like um battling him with. So I feel like Henry had was quite a strong character from an early age. Okay, um, I would say he was well loved. I don't know. I forget the history of it, but it looks like he was well loved with the parents there. Okay, and there was a lot of people like surrounding him as a child as well, so working with him. Okay, but I think Henry battled with maybe it was like too much attention, or maybe Henry liked the having attention. Wonder if he had a bit of ADHD about him, or ADD, or something on those lines. I mean, because the Five of Wands is like that conflict. So as a child, I think he could be quite difficult. and he could, people did struggle with him. Okay, um, especially with the connection. So I think Henry did struggle with connecting with people as well. Okay, so he showed as a child, from what is showing here, that he had a competitive nature about him already. So that was already in his it's already coming up there. Okay, so we're going to touch on the parents' bonds because there's the Two of Cups. So it's all come out, like, so we're the child, so his bond with his mum and dad. Again, it's like I said before, I feel like um his parents loved him very much. He had great memories around surrounding his parents. There was a strong leadership role there with the is that the king? The king. Henry's father. So I feel like there's distant memories around his father aspects as well. So I feel Henry did feel quite connected to his father at stage. If you know about the history about it and stuff, let me know if I if I got that correct. But I feel like there was some sort of kind of memory. So I feel the connection to his parents was quite strong as a child, right? So other influences. So we've got the Three of Pentacles. That's usually partnerships working together and stuff. Yeah, look. See, there's that defiant. He ran amok. He was quite defiant and quite run amok. So I think, although he kind of listened to his parents, when it come to other people, people found him quite a challenge. Okay, I would say Henry was quite a dreamer. So he was quite a dreamer, and I would say that he would get easily distracted on things. It wouldn't surprise me if it uncovered. Okay, um, it wouldn't surprise me if there was underlining stuff going on that obviously back in them days they weren't aware of. So I do wonder if Henry suffered from some form of challenges, whether it was like on the ADHD front or ADD or, you know, on that Avon. And that's where the difficult of understanding and his level of how his brain worked. Because we've, like I said, we've got the Five of Wands as him being very competitive and challenging there. So that's how I would view it anyway. Okay, all right. So that's the first part. Interesting. Let's have a look at the second part. Okay, so we're gonna look at the second part. Like, put the cards back in. Give it a knot. So his teenage energy. What was his teenage energy like? In his teenage energy. Oh, he was very. He was. I would say he came into quite a strong character. Relationships around them. Okay. I would say that he had he was very dreamy. So I think he had a kind of romanticize of the relationships they had. So I don't feel he imagined his relationships completely different to how other people see it. So the influences around him. We're gonna have a look at how they viewed him as well. The relationships around him. So we've got the Three of Wands. So I think Henry could quite easily cut you off quite quickly, especially if he didn't master what was in his imagination with the Page of Cups. Okay, um, so I would say Henry was coming quite a strong character, strong leadership. So as a child, is all coming out um, in the woodworks. So he was showing a strong leadership role um, already as a teenager. Again, he was a bit of a dreamer, but like I said, I feel like he could quite easily cut you out if you didn't follow what his imagination would be. Tell me more about the Page of Cups in that aspect. Yeah, I would say Henry was a bit of a loner. So he had a bit of a sorry, I had an itchy nose. I wasn't picking it. Yeah, he was a bit of a loner. He was again very much into his thoughts, in very much into his imagination. Um, I think he perceived himself as like a strong character, but within inside he was still this child. He was still struggling as teenagers do, you know. So yeah, how the influences affected Henry. I would say it would be his commitment to others and commitment to um to others. That's what I would say with the lover's card, his attitudes and stuff, because you can see he's turning his back. So if you didn't follow through or didn't like I said didn't lead to his imagination and how he viewed things, then he would quite easily have that divide there. So there was there was quite I wouldn't say flamboyant, as flamboyant's the wrong word. There was already quite a strong mindset that Henry had. Um, add to the equations of like the passing of his parents. So let's have a look at the passing. I think it's. I not. I didn't really because I didn't really look into it because I wanted to sort of see try not to let that affect the interpretation of the reading more than anything. I had a quick flip. So did the passing of his parents have an impact on Henry towards his attitude to people? Yeah, he came a bit of a loner. He came a bit of a yeah. It had a big impact, which, in all fairness, that's quite a normal human thing to have, isn't it? It's going to be quite um normal. So yeah, I think he did have a massive impact on it. And Henry did come a bit of a loner and an recluse in that again that dreamer aspect. Okay, all right, that's interesting. So that's just going to be a quick overall look. I'm going to put them to the side, and then we're going to look into section three, which is adulthood. Okay, so he's grown into an adult. So his attitude before the accidents he had, because it was like the brain injury. Although it's showing me that there was already developments there from from an early effect. Right. That's before. So he was very defiant, very defiant then. So he would hit back if you weren't playing his role. If you weren't playing his game, he would hit back. All right. So after the accidents, what was his personality then? After the accidents, let's have a look. Wheel of Fortune. There was a change. Okay, there was a change. I think it knocked his confidence. I think it knocked some of his confidence. Maybe he felt like he was like he had all the control, but that those accidents, which is that's quite common when you go through something like that, kind of separated something within him. So I would say his attitude to his effect from the accident may have changed him in the way of like he did start putting on weight. He wasn't so active. So all those things. So there was a massive change, but I don't feel it was the brain injury around his brain or whatever. I'm not a doctor, so I ain't a doctor. But from what I'm seeing from the cards, I feel like it was more about the emotional loss, of like not able to do as much as he used to do on a physical side of things. I think that was more of the cause of him. Um, that he I think he lost a little bit of his mojo, basically. It knocked his confidence a little bit. That's what I believe. Okay. Um, yeah. All right. So, how did others view him as a child? We're going to go for child, teenager. So, how did they view him? Like the closest ones that was around him all the time. How did they view him? As a child, they seen potential in him as a child. Teenager, there was some weighing ups here of what to do for the right. For the right, I know he was very young when he became king. As they got older, people thought he was very promiscuous, very spontaneous, very not really thinking before he act. So I feel like he would respond quite quickly to things, um, and take some unnecessary risks. So they seen a decline from what they were hoping for in the Empress card to like now the Justice card, where they said that like the balance and what they're doing the right thing by him, but now they're saying that he was very promiscuous and very like make decisions quite quickly, without really thinking about things. So very he would move quite fastly, you know. So the nurse, was there some narcissistic tendencies with him or sociopath? So we're gonna have a look at because we're looking at the personality. Um, so we're gonna look narcissistic. No, he wasn't narcissistic. I think I think his mindset and stuff that happened kind of like projected So he projected a lot of his pain onto others through his own demise, so through his own faults and stuff. Sociopath tendencies. Magician, a trickster. It's more about control. He had the power. He had the power in his hands. So I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know. Would I produce that as a sociopath? There was a bit of a trickster about him, and he used what he had for control. Maybe that's a bit of a sociopath. Maybe. Yeah. Hmm. All right. Tell me what you think on that one. That's mad. I did not expect that. Magician is about like opportunists. So it's like an opportune, he was an opportunist, which would make sense with like, the death of his some of his wives. He would jump to a decision with and quite easily cut, which would represent like in his teenage years. So I would say Henry was he had quite a spoilt nature, but he had a strong, powerful mind, that he wouldn't allow anyone to demean her. Isolation. Yeah, look, he would isolate. Not necessarily he would isolate, but he would sever the ties. Yeah, he was strong. I would say he was very strong-minded, and he used his power to get what he wanted, even if it was wrong. In Henry's eyes, it was the right thing to do. That status. So I'm not sure if it's like he was that sociopath. I think he had those difficult tendencies from a very early age anyway. Obviously, when we go through things, some people use it as a positive of how to reverse it. Henry done the opposite. I feel, yeah, yeah, he didn't appreciate if you kind of confronted him, and that would be the worst thing to do. And remember, when you're isolated as well, or you isolate yourself, you don't trust people. You lose trust in everybody because your world is small. So is that the case that he started isolating, and with all the confidence has been knocked and stuff? So if Henry was here today, say for instance, if Henry did Henry have any regrets regarding with I would say the murder, the killings of all these people? Did he have any sort of regrets here? No, I don't think he did. I don't think he did. I think his personality got the better of him. He was trapped in his own faults, his own way of thinking things out, you know. And it was to him, it was like this is um this is like a power of control there. So I'm just going to pull some more of with these. I've never used these on, so this is a first. So interpretation. Fortune. No. I think he liked the drama of it all and what it brought to him, you know. So he was very driven by his ego, I would say. So the short all of like, you know, the message as we're sort of like unwinding and stuff, I would say that Henry personality, it yes, it did change, but it was more about the what was done to him, you know, and how things mapped out for him. That's how I would interpretate it. What do you guys think? You know, this is just reading the cards. It's not like it's just like a curiosity, um, test my, you know, to test it out and see. What do you think? Is there anything that I've like come up with that, you know, history wise that is proven, or is it all just a conspiracy? Let me know your thoughts down below. Anyway, have a good day and thank you if you stuck around for so long. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed it. Take care and I will see you soon.